let's talk about car prices right now, because we know they're still pretty high, especially with the interest rates as high as they are. And if you're in the market for a new or used vehicle, it may be out of reach.
They told you your car was an investment. They didn't tell you it's becoming worthless overnight. Entire car brands are collapsing behind closed doors, silently, suddenly, and right under everyone's nose. Showrooms are going dark, vehicles are stranded at ports, and loyal owners, they're left holding titles to cars nobody wants. With repairs no one will touch. Why are trusted brands vanishing without warning? How did dealerships become financial death traps? And what happens when your car turns into a liability overnight? Because by the time this video ends, you'll realize this isn't just about what's dying. It's about what you could lose next. Mini, it all starts with the drive. Nimble, light, and unlike anything else on the road. That unique feeling behind the wheel has long been Mini's biggest appeal. Known for its tight cornering, playful steering, and compact charm, this brand attracted drivers who wanted efficiency and flair wrapped into one iconic design. Mini was never meant to compete with full-size trucks or sport utility vehicles. Instead, it built its reputation on being different, on standing out. Yet in today's American market, that difference is becoming a liability. The problem is simple. American tastes have shifted. Compact hatchbacks, no matter how clever or well-engineered, have lost favor to larger vehicles offering more cargo space, higher ground clearance, and additional seating. While Mini attempted to adapt by releasing larger models such as the Countryman, those efforts have not been enough to reverse the brand's sales collapse. Even worse, the brand's recent pivot toward electric vehicles has stalled. Mini's plan to fully electrify its fleet by the year 2030 was thrown into uncertainty when a $750 million upgrade to its main manufacturing plant in Oxford, England, was put on pause due to rising costs and weak demand. And then come the scandals. Public trust in the brand took a hit after its involvement in a misleading financial scheme linked to mini bond investments in the United Kingdom. Add to that the backlash from a tone-deaf advertising campaign referencing a European food crisis, and Mini's image began to erode just as fast as its sales. Reliability ratings have also fallen short, leaving many owners questioning long-term dependability and resale value. Small in name, but big in trouble. Mini's crisis is just the start, because the next brand is barely surviving despite once owning American highways. Chrysler. Few vehicles in modern history offered the road presence and luxury on a budget appeal that once defined this brand. In the year 2005, total U.S. sales of Chrysler exceeded 600,000 units. Fast forward nearly 2 decades, and those numbers have cratered, dropping below 125,000 units by the year 2024. This collapse isn't just about evolving tastes, it's about a brand running out of time. Only one model remains available to everyday American consumers: the Pacifica minivan. A more affordable variant, the Voyager, is offered exclusively to fleets and rental agencies. The iconic Chrysler 300 sedan was discontinued in 2023, effectively closing the chapter on the brand's performance and executive class vehicles. In just 1 year, from 2023 to 2024, overall U.S. sales dropped by 22.6%. Even the Pacifica saw an 11% decline, losing ground to fresher, more technologically advanced competition, like the Toyota Sienna and the Kia Carnival. The bigger concern is corporate strategy. Stellantis, the multinational company now in control of Chrysler, initiated a full review of all 14 of its global automotive brands in mid-2024. Chrysler, due to its limited lineup, declining sales, and dwindling dealership presence, is widely viewed as a primary target for elimination. Evidence of trouble is already visible at the dealership level. In April of 2025, a Chrysler dealer in Maine defaulted on a $4.5 million loan, closing its doors indefinitely. Around the same time, a dealer in Georgia shut down after a trade-in fraud operation left several customers without titles or compensation. Public confidence is eroding, and fast. Chrysler's slow fade is painful to watch, but the next brand didn't fade slowly. It vanished without a sound. Are you seeing the same signs with your brand? Hit subscribe and stick with us. We're diving into more brands that are disappearing, and you don't want to miss it. Suzuki. Affordable, compact, and reliable. These were the traits that once made this brand a quiet favorite among practical drivers across the United States. Whether it was the Grand Vitara tackling rural roads or the SX4 squeezing into tight urban spaces, the lineup had a no-nonsense charm that appealed to those who wanted simplicity without sacrificing functionality. That foothold slipped away quietly. By the year 2012, the brand exited the United States automobile market altogether. Most people barely noticed. But behind that silence was a steep decline, driven by stricter emissions regulations, tightening safety standards, and dwindling public interest. The company's vehicle lineup failed to evolve. Its crash test ratings were often subpar, and compliance with updated American fuel economy requirements became too expensive to maintain. Then came the scandals. In the year 2016, the company admitted to using improper emissions testing procedures on 16 of its vehicle models, impacting over 2 million units worldwide. While most of the legal and financial damage unfolded abroad, the news sealed the coffin for any possible U.S. return. Already gone, the brand's reputation took another hit, reinforcing doubts among the few remaining American Suzuki owners. Today, owning one of these vehicles presents serious challenges. Parts are increasingly rare, many dealerships have been dismantled, and resale value has plummeted. Mechanics may be hesitant to perform repairs due to a lack of technical support, and buyers looking to trade in are often shocked at how little their vehicle is worth. Even insurance companies are raising premiums on older models due to limited serviceability. Though the manufacturer still thrives globally in other sectors, its presence on U.S. roads has faded into obscurity. You may have missed Suzuki's exit, but the next brand is crashing so loudly that even loyal fans are turning away. Nissan. Performance once met affordability with this automotive giant. Throughout the late 1980s, 1990s, and early 2000s, this brand delivered vehicles that combined sport-inspired engineering with wide consumer accessibility. From the high-revving 240Z to the muscular GTR and the ever-practical Maxima, it offered something for every segment, earning a strong reputation for both value and excitement behind the wheel. That reputation has begun to erode. By the year 2024, United States sales totaled 865,938 units. At a glance, that figure seems respectable, but buried beneath it lies the implosion of once dominant nameplates. The Maxima, a cornerstone of the brand's sedan portfolio, saw sales plunge by more than 90%. Fewer than 4,000 units were sold in the first half of that year, a stunning collapse for what was once a bestseller. Structural weaknesses go far beyond the showroom floor. A proposed merger with Honda in early 2024 had the potential to birth the third largest automotive group on the planet. Instead, it unraveled in boardrooms, with Honda demanding majority control and Nissan resisting. Internally, the brand has suffered one of the longest leadership crises in automotive history, following the arrest of longtime Chief Executive Officer Carlos Ghosn in 2018 for hiding millions in compensation and misuse of corporate assets. Leadership has shifted repeatedly, vision drifted, focus waned, and product planning fell into disarray. Amid mounting losses, the company slashed 9,000 jobs and canceled 2 electric vehicles previously planned for the United States. Unlike rivals who are pushing forward with hybrid and electric options, this automaker finds itself falling behind. With no cohesive roadmap in sight, while Nissan fights to survive, the next brand is leaning hard on luxury, without the stability to back it up. Infiniti. Luxury without dependability is a tough sell, especially in a competitive market flooded with German engineering, American refinement, and aggressive South Korean innovation. Once seen as a daring alternative to brands like Bayerische Motoren, Verke, and Lexus, this automaker attempted to capture a high-end audience with bold styling, performance credentials, and a more affordable entry point into the luxury space. For a brief time in the early 2010s, it worked. Models like the Q50 and the QX70 drew attention for blending upscale features with aggressive road manners. That momentum is now gone. Over the past 10 years, United States sales have been cut in half. In the year 2024, only 58,070 vehicles were sold, a more than 10% drop compared to the previous year. The decline is not just visible in sales figures, but in the physical footprint of the brand itself. Dozens of standalone showrooms have shuttered, forcing the manufacturer to combine operations with its parent company, Nissan, just to survive. That move may save overhead costs, but it also signals a critical retreat in brand identity. The product lineup continues to shrink. Both the QX50 and QX55 are scheduled to end production by December of 2025. Newer models, like the QX60 and QX65, are tailored for high-income drivers, further isolating middle-market buyers who once made up the brand's backbone. Despite attempts to reposition itself as a tech-savvy luxury option, the brand still suffers from reputational damage tied to past missteps, including inflated performance claims, faulty airbags, and recurring power steering issues. One particularly damaging recall affected over 1,300,000 vehicles, costing the company millions in fines and even more in consumer trust. Infiniti still wants to look premium, but the next brand can't even pretend anymore. Fiat, quirky, compact, and unmistakably Italian. This brand re-entered the United States market with flair and ambition in the early 2010s. The goal was to redefine small car ownership by blending European style with urban practicality. At its peak, the company rode a wave of nostalgia and novelty, with the Fiat 500 becoming a cultural icon among young drivers looking for something different. Its small footprint and fuel efficiency made it ideal for city dwellers who valued simplicity over space. That wave, however, has long since crashed. In the year 2024, total United States sales amounted to just 1,528 vehicles nationwide. While this technically represented a 153% increase from the previous year, the numbers remain critically low and symbolically catastrophic. The release of the all-electric Fiat 500e was meant to mark a new chapter for the company, but it failed to generate the momentum needed to reverse years of brand erosion. Reliability has long been a thorn in Fiat's side. For decades, the brand carried a reputation encapsulated by the nickname "Fix It Again, Tony." This was not without reason. Owners frequently reported issues ranging from transmission failures to electrical problems. Warranty claims were common, and long-term durability was questioned by consumer watchdogs and independent automotive reviewers alike. Globally, the brand remains one of the top sellers for its parent company, Stellantis, but even that success is slipping. In the year 2024, global sales declined by 11%, while net profits dropped by 70%, pulling overall revenue down by 17%. Back home in Italy, political pressure has mounted over the company's strategic direction, triggering executive shakeups and growing concerns about job security at domestic factories. Fiat's collapse might be quiet, but the next brand exploded, then imploded twice. Fisker, what was meant to be a comeback, quickly became a catastrophe. This once promising automaker re-emerged with bold ambitions and striking design, anchored by a single flagship product, a sleek electric utility vehicle intended to challenge industry giants. The vision was stylish and sustainable mobility for a new generation. With a striking exterior, impressive projected range, and a price tag that undercut premium competitors, it looked like the company had finally cracked the code after its previous collapse in the early 2010s. Then, the problems began. By late 2023, early owners of the vehicle reported critical safety issues, doors that would not unlock, hoods that flew open mid-drive, and sudden power loss while in motion. These were not minor bugs or cosmetic inconveniences. They were dangerous and, in some cases, life-threatening. The United States National Highway Traffic Safety Administration launched multiple investigations into the company's safety failures. By early 2024, the manufacturer had paused production entirely. Just a few months later, in June of that year, the company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy for the second time in its history. The downfall was swift and total, with production halted, unsold inventory gathering dust, and suppliers left unpaid. The company began liquidating assets, factories, design software, testing equipment. Everything was up for sale. Financially, the situation was dire. While total sales reached $273 million, the company was burdened with over $1.3 billion in debt. A proposed rescue deal with a major automaker collapsed in March of 2024, and by mid-year, its stock price had lost more than 90% of its peak value from 2021. Fisker was not the only electric vehicle brand that promised too much. The next one had billions, but still could not hold on. Lucid Motors, luxury, performance, and futuristic technology. These were the cornerstones of this electric automaker's grand promise. The company burst onto the scene with a single goal: to dethrone Tesla by building the most advanced electric sedan in the world. And on paper, the company seemed to deliver. For a time, it looked like a legitimate contender in the electric vehicle arms race. However, the numbers told a different story. In the year 2024 alone, the company lost over $3 billion. That level of loss was unsustainable for any manufacturer, let alone a relatively new player still struggling with production delays and supply chain constraints. Stock prices plunged by more than 95% from their high point, leaving investors stunned and questioning whether the company had ever been financially viable in the first place. Recalls soon followed. A defect in the high-voltage system caused sudden power loss in a number of vehicles, an issue confirmed by safety regulators after at least 10 reported incidents. Buyers also reported faulty infotainment systems, glitchy interfaces, and a driver assistance system that failed to perform as advertised. What has kept the company afloat, barely, is foreign capital. A majority stake is now held by the Public Investment Fund of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Without this backing, the company would likely not exist today. Yet reliance on foreign investment raises serious questions about long-term independence and control. The company's next major model, a luxury sport utility vehicle named Gravity, has already seen delays and now faces uncertainty as production schedules are reassessed. If this company is teetering on the edge, the next one already fell, taking thousands of factory jobs down with it. Canoe, futuristic design, industry-shaking contracts, and bold promises. That was the vision behind this electric vehicle startup. Built to disrupt commercial transportation, Canoe presented itself as the future of delivery vans and shuttle mobility. It caught the attention of some of the biggest names in the world. The company had secured agreements with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration to provide transport vehicles for astronauts, and it even landed a deal with Walmart to deliver 4,500 electric vans for last-mile logistics. Investors were buzzing. The media spotlight was white-hot and the future looked unstoppable. But that future never arrived. In the year 2025, Canoe filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, stunning both its partners and the automotive world. The company collapsed under the weight of spiraling debt, missed production targets, and evaporating capital. What was once seen as a cutting-edge transportation disruptor was now a cautionary tale of overpromise and under-delivery. Only $50,000 in assets remained against over $160 million in debt. The Oklahoma factory, once slated to employ over 1,400 people, shuttered without warning, leaving workers jobless and unpaid. What followed was a legal firestorm. Former employees filed lawsuits under the Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act, alleging that they were laid off illegally and without the required 60-day notice. Another electric vehicle startup, Harbinger, also launched legal action, claiming that Canoe had acquired valuable assets from the bankrupt company Arrival without fair market bidding. They argued that the deal had been structured in secret by Canoe's leadership to regain failing technology at a steep discount. The deal raised eyebrows across the industry and further eroded any remaining investor confidence. From new names to old giants, this next brand used to define elegance, but now it's barely hanging on. Jaguar, for decades, it delivered smooth, powerful sedans and high-performance coupes that attracted everyone from Hollywood actors to business moguls. Models like the XJ, the F-Type, and the XF carved out a distinct identity, British refinement with a bite. At its peak, owning one of these vehicles meant more than just driving. It meant making a statement. That statement is now being rewritten, and not for the better. In the year 2024, Jaguar announced that it would discontinue nearly its entire lineup in the United States. The XE, XF, E-Pace, I-Pace, and even the iconic F-Type were all put on the chopping block. Only one vehicle remains available, the F-Pace. It is the last remnant of what was once a diverse and aspirational catalog. The reason for this massive scale back is Jaguar's attempt to transform itself into an electric-only luxury brand, a shift meant to relaunch its relevance by the year 2026. Unfortunately, the execution has been flawed from the beginning. The rebrand included a new minimal logo, replacing the iconic leaping cat with a plain circular J, accompanied by the slogan, "Live Vivid." The marketing campaign was built around bold color palettes, fashion models, and abstract phrases like break molds and create exuberant. Longtime customers were not impressed. The public reaction was swift and harsh, with critics labeling the campaign as tone-deaf, overly stylized, and disconnected from what made the brand special in the first place. Meanwhile, serious problems continue to haunt the brand. Quality control issues have persisted for years, including software glitches, defective infotainment systems, and poorly integrated driver assist features. Recalls have been frequent, and many vehicles are plagued by rising long-term repair costs. Jaguar is chasing reinvention, but the next brand already gave up the chase years ago, Pontiac. From muscle car icons like the Firebird Trans Am to cult favorites like the GTO, it represented a slice of American automotive history that pulsed with speed, style, and rebellion. It was the affordable dream for working-class drivers who wanted more than just transportation. They wanted identity. Even in its later years, Pontiac tried to maintain a performance edge, offering aggressive styling and sporty handling in a sea of bland sedans. That dream began unraveling long before the official end. Sales peaked in the early 2000s, but started tumbling year after year as consumer confidence wavered. By the time General Motors made the decision to cut the brand during its massive restructuring, the writing was already on the wall. Pontiac's final production year was 2010. The decision was solidified during the fallout of the 2008 financial crisis, when General Motors received a government bailout exceeding $50 billion and was forced to downsize. Product misfires did not help. Vehicles like the Aztek, widely criticized for its odd design and lackluster performance, hurt Pontiac's reputation severely, while some models, such as the Solstice or the final G8 sedan, were praised by enthusiasts. They arrived too late to reverse the brand's downward trajectory. Consumers began walking away, and General Motors saw no profitable reason to keep Pontiac alive. Today, owning one of these vehicles is a gamble. Parts are increasingly scarce, and some components have to be imported or sourced from scrapyards. Repair costs are often higher due to the shrinking support network. Resale value has dropped dramatically, and many insurance providers now assign higher premiums due to the perceived risk and parts availability issues. Pontiac's fall was historic, but the next brand is still alive. Barely, and that's the problem. Mitsubishi bold styling and budget pricing once set this brand apart in the compact crossover and small car segments. For a time, it managed to find success in the American market with models like the Outlander and the Mirage, both of which catered to families and cost-conscious drivers. Known for fuel efficiency and simple drivetrains, the vehicles appealed to buyers seeking low entry prices and basic features without the complexity of premium competitors. That era is quickly closing. In the year 2024, sales in the United States fell to just over 109,000 vehicles, a stark contrast from earlier decades when the brand enjoyed mainstream visibility. By early 2025, things had worsened. All deliveries to American dealerships were abruptly halted due to new tariffs imposed on imported vehicles. With no domestic manufacturing footprint and limited product flexibility, the company had no immediate workaround. Cars sat stranded at ports, and showrooms went quiet. Underlying issues go far deeper than trade policy. The company has long struggled with build quality complaints and customer satisfaction. Common issues include faulty transmissions, weak air conditioning systems, premature suspension wear, and widespread electrical faults. Several models are notorious for their sluggish acceleration and outdated technology. While rivals were embracing hybrid powertrains and advanced driver assistance systems, this brand was recycling aging platforms with only minimal updates. Reputation damage also weighs heavily. In the year 2016, the automaker admitted to manipulating fuel economy tests for more than 600,000 vehicles. This was not the first instance of corporate misconduct. In earlier years, multiple defect cover-ups led to class action lawsuits and forced recalls. And finally, we arrive at a brand that might just be gone by the time you're done watching this video. Maserati. For drivers who craved exclusivity, Maserati offered handcrafted interiors, throaty engines, and a badge that suggested you had arrived on your terms. The Levante brought that prestige into the sport utility vehicle segment, while models like the Ghibli and Quattroporte competed directly with high-end sedans from Germany. None of that could protect the brand from collapse. In the year 2024, global sales nosedived by 57%, falling from over 26,000 units to barely 11,000 in just 12 months. That is not a gradual decline, it is a tailspin. The parent company, headquartered in the Netherlands and operating under the larger Stellantis group, has been forced to rethink its entire strategy for the brand. Several factors triggered this collapse. Import tariffs imposed on European-built vehicles made pricing uncompetitive in the United States, where all Maserati models are manufactured in Italy. A 25% surcharge pushed already expensive vehicles further out of reach for most luxury buyers. Meanwhile, Other high-end automakers like Porsche, BMW, and even Lexus expanded their offerings and outperformed Maserati in both reliability and innovation. Internally, the brand has suffered from chronic delays in electrification. A full electric lineup was promised years ago, but development has been inconsistent. Consumer demand for electric luxury vehicles is growing rapidly, and Maserati has failed to capture that momentum. Even flagship models were delayed or quietly canceled, leaving showrooms sparse and buyers confused. In response, the parent company brought in outside consultants to evaluate the future, including options like mergers, sell-offs, or complete shutdowns. The car market is changing, and some brands might be gone before you even realize it. If this deep dive shocked you, subscribe and stay tuned for more. Hit the bell to get the inside scoop on the collapse of car brands and what it means for you. Don't miss a single update. Subscribe now.